the friendly voice of radio, the people's choice. Music, weather, sports, and news, it's radio. The people choose. Everybody swinging to the swinging voice of radio, the people's choice. Big fry, small fry, dawn to dawn, it's radio that turns them on.
The views, opinions, and representations expressed on the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network and its website are those of the hosts, guests, and participants, and are not necessarily those of or endorsed by the network, its affiliated stations and broadcasts, the management, other hosts, or advertisers of the network. The shows found on the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network can, but do not necessarily, promote any particular lifestyle, belief, religion, political affiliation, or other personal practice. These shows are for entertainment purposes only, and are not intended to treat, diagnose, and or claim any cure of disease or condition, or give any medical or legal advice. You can advertise your business on Night Dreams Talk Radio, and you will be heard worldwide. Why not contact us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com. Coming to you from some far point station, like a cosmic tumbleweed, both north and south of the Pleiades. Here's your host, Gary Anderson.
Yeah, well, I can't say I'm the best. I can't say I'm the worst. I can honestly say that we're on the air. Tonight, we're going to be talking with Sam Ritchie again. He's been on the show numerous times talking about, well, cryptics, little people, Bigfoot. Hey, Sam, how you doing, my friend?
Pretty good. Not bad, Gary.
I tell you what, I am pulling what hair I have left on my head out. You know, I made sure an hour before I went on the air that Windows updated, and it did. Then I come in here at a half an hour before airtime, and then it just kept updating and updating and updating. So hopefully it doesn't all decide to, to do it again. I don't know. It's crazy.
I hope it's the technology trying to do this. It's a little bit overwhelming sometimes because you don't expect the computer to update when you actually need it. So
yeah, and that
it's supposed to update. Set it up to update like in the nighttime when you're not using it. If you leave the computer on,
I do.
It depends on what you do.
And yeah. I do. And, and it updated during the night like it normally did. But, a lot of these updates I'm finding is actually causing the computers to run slower, to do weird things. And, it seems like a lot of these major updates they have, all of a sudden 2 days later, they discover they have a lot of bugs in it.
Yeah, and then they got to reverse them out. And I try to prevent mine from trying to update for a long time. I keep moving the date forward, so they can't get to it. But it's the bane. If I had my druthers, I'd just simply turn off the update button. I can't seem to find one anymore.
I know, and that's what I tried doing. I tried before going on to make sure, that the updates wouldn't come back on again, during the show. But I don't know. Hey, by the way, Sam, we're on Facebook Live too. And, what can I say? I mean, hopefully we got a lot of listeners here tonight. Why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm someone who's started out probably not believing too much. Didn't have a reason to believe. It's just I'd never had the experiences before. And I'm an IT person, so it's like I'm a logical mind, So I'm not going to, just simply accept anything like hocus pocus or anything that comes along. And, I look at it analytically and stuff. So it wasn't until I actually went through some pretty traumatic trials in my life in the latter 2000s and going into 2010 up, where I had a chance to get away from the city and actually move out in the mountains. And, I actually maintain both places, but I spend a lot of time out here because I actually have a secondary home that I like to come here and just space out and just chill out because it's beautiful. It's very calming. But I noticed over time, and I was hearing things, hearing things first, strange noises, strange, very loud, very non-animal type of noises or bird noises that could only be made by something very large, like a 900-pound owl or something like that. So my association with Barb Shoup, who's the other researcher here, led me into discovering more of this myself. So I started hanging out with her, and I started. I had my own experiences actually seeing one jump across a tree behind the local tavern.
Oh, wow!
About 4 years ago, and that led into more visible occurrences of seeing things. I mean, for me, it was like, from a Bigfoot perspective, I actually saw what looked like a shimmering black whatever between these two trees, and was fortunate enough to go ahead and take a cell phone picture of it. That's what I was using at the time, and was able to later determine after looking on the computer, enhancing by lightening up the photo a little bit, that darkness actually contained the full body of the Sasquatch.
Oh, wow!
You could see the cone of the head and everything, and it's just, I mean, that just really blew my mind. And so that was, and the strange part about it was that I made an assumption. I kind of walked close to that blackness. I was only about 100 feet away across the little valley there in the woods, and I just went ahead and waved at it, and I took the picture, and I got a little bit closer, waved again, and it wasn't until I actually looked at both pictures that the first picture was him smiling and holding the branch, and then had his hand extended out to wave back at me. So in the second picture, he was actually had his head turned toward the side as if he was actually talking to someone else, an associate Sasquatch, and pointing in my direction. So that was easy to figure out. It was like, wow, guess who could see us? You know?
Yeah. Now,
So,
you saying this was like in the back of a bar?
yeah. What now?
No,
that
no,
wasn't behind the bar. That was still in the same approximate area, like within probably an eighth of a mile of the bar.
Okay, so they come probably going through the dumpster looking for goodies then.
Although we've just had so many encounters. It's just not me. It's just different people have been seen. I can't relate this one experience of one. I know I'm going to jump around here just for a second.
Oh, that's fine.
But we had one very perceptive foreign girl. I think she was Ukrainian or Russian, who was working here for a short while. And not mentioning names or anything, but she was staying in one of the units. And, of course, we have the woods behind there. And she came up to me and said, why is there a monkey why is there little monkeys hanging around here? I said, what are you talking about? I said, oh, yeah, it's just a little monkey coming here. And he took off. I looked outside, and he was standing there, and he took off like quicker than I ever saw anything. And then she indicated that she had some kind of a psychic connection or a telepathic, and that she got the name of, oh, you mean you actually got his name? It's Koba.
Interesting.
You know, and so the way it played out, long story short on that one, was that this young Sasquatch, obviously male or whatever, was taking an interest in this Russian girl and was hanging around the unit, the cabin unit, and probably to the dismay of the parents. So it was one of the Sasquatch parents who weren't really keen to that. So
I don't think so. I don't think anybody's parents would be.
No, they don't. The Sasquatch allow their young to go ahead and explore and everything, and they do so at night. They do so at different times of the day. They're the ones that actually get closer. They allow them to get closer into the people so they can observe them and because when they get older, they're going to have responsibilities, and actually, because it is very communal. It is very communal, regulated type of hierarchy system. That the way they live, because they have to live in tribal clans and things like that. So, kind of interesting.
Yes.
And, of course, to coincide with that particular thing, I probably had a lot of my sightings have been, I had the one adult sighting, but I've also had the 3 or 4 others were strictly juveniles because they jump out in front of you. I mean, I've had them jump out in front of me and then just spin around a campfire and then take off. And it looked like a black dog or bear, but it wasn't because it was making strange noises and it was moving so quickly. It was faster than a dog or bear could ever go.
Now, Sam, I got to ask you a question because that's kind of a tourist area over there. In your location, how about visitors going up there in, spring and summertime, going camping and hiking and whatever out in the woods? I mean, have you ever heard any reports like at the local store, people coming in and saying, I saw a Bigfoot?
Yes, it's continuous. It's over times past, we've actually have at the store that actually Barb actually works in that store, the general store there here in Greenwater, and we've over the years maintained a logbook that visitors can log in their sightings, and it's kind of interesting to read through it because you can actually find all these different. I saw this walking in front of the car, and I mean they couldn't all be making this up. And it hasn't let up either. It isn't that it happened for a while and then there was a lull. It's a constant thing. The people that come through here they get excited too. Sometimes they come in the general store. It's, they're out of breath and everything, and they just want to tell someone. They want someone to believe what they just saw.
Oh yeah. I mean, how many people in that book have seen a Bigfoot roughly? I mean, is it a big thick book or?
Right. It's not a small logbook. I would say it probably, and I don't know if there's multiple books. Like that was the latest one. It looked like it had maybe about 100 pages in it.
Yeah.
And a lot of, I mean, I remember flipping through a lot of the pages, and it was just pages and pages and pages of it. And we don't try to do anything with that information, as far as I know. It's just there for people to read and look through.
Interesting. And how do people find that location if they want to go, before the end of summer and go out in the woods and try to find something that's crawling around or jumping around or, beating on the bark of the trees?
Well, I always call Greenwater like ground zero for a lot of activity. And, I mean, there's other areas, too, that have just as much activity, but we tend to have a really ton of it. And so there isn't any specific area. I mean, we have specific areas that we research, but we don't want to divulge those necessarily over the air or in the public. We will if on a personal one-on-one level, and if someone comes here and we'll make an arrangement, we'll actually go to one of those areas and point out different features of different things we saw over the years. But in general, we don't do that. I mean, we have Barb actually has a camping group of usually the same people. We've had new members to that. And that group is very familiar with those areas. But we go to 2 different areas.
Well, from the store, store, isn't there a campground like about a mile away or something, if I remember right?
Oh, there's one right in town. I mean, there's, I don't count that one